Hi boys and girls, it is the creator of Bored with Miss Reynolds, Better Off Reading Every Day, and we are back with another good one. This time it's a little golden book, and this is the Woodpecker at the Circus one. And from what I can see, this book was 69 cents back in the day. Check it out. And of course, I have my friend here with me, Woody Woodpecker. Of course. Let's see when this book was from. 1980. 1980. And you know what? I came to America in 1981. I was 10 years old. Kind of like these little ones right here, swinging on the swing, having that little young life. Let's see what it's all about. Woody Woodpecker at the Circus. I feel glum, chum. I feel sad, lad, said Woody Woodpecker, looking first at Splinter and then at Knothead. We need some laughs and some fun. I know where we can find both. Do you know what I've always wanted to be? A circus clown. I know I could make people laugh. Let's go to the Crabapple Circus and see if we can get jobs as clowns. The very next day, Woody, Splinter, and Knothead talked about their plan with Mr. Jellyjam, owner of the Crabapple Circus. Everybody wants to be a clown, Woody, but it's hard to be funny, Mr. Jellyjam explained. How about working with the elephants instead? Well, I'd rather be a clown, declared Woody, but taking care of elephants is a big job at least. It was a big job. Gosh, Woody pitching hay is really hot work, sighed Knothead, puffing. Gosh, Woody, pitching hay is really hot work, sighed Knothead, puffing. I didn't know we'd have to work this hard. Pounding elephant steaks into the ground isn't much fun either. Woody complained, rubbing his beak. Come here, Jumbo, he called to the largest elephant. Let me straighten your chin. Jumbo started towards Woody, but he stumbled over his twisted chain. He snorted with fright, startling Rosie, the star elephant of the circus. She tried to run, and suddenly all the elephants were tripping and stumbling together, caught in one another's tangled chains. Mr. Jellyjam was working in a different part of the circus, but he came running when he heard the uproar. Elephants need to be kept calm, Woody, he said firmly. I think we'd better find a new job for you and Splinter and Knothead. Can't we be clowns, Mr. Jellyjam? Pleaded Woody. I'd never be a sad lad again. if I could be a circus clown. No, Mr. Jelly Jam shook his head. You see what you can do to help Leopold, our lion tamer. That seemed a good idea, so off they went. I know how we can help Leopold, Woody told his friends. Here's the chair he used in his act. I'll peck some holes in the seat so he can see what the lions are doing every second. Splinter and Knothead agreed that this ought to be a great help. That night, the jaunting Leopold carried his chair and whip, entered the lion's cage. He motioned with the chair towards Lorenzo, the boldest lion of all. Lorenzo gave the chair a big swat. Crash! Both Leopold and Lorenzo were stunned when the chair seat fell apart and the pieces flew around the cage. Lorenzo leaped to the floor to examine what was left of the chair, and Leopold scurried out of the cage. Both of them glared at Woody, who was trying hard to look as if a broken chair were part of the act. Get out, bellowed Leopold. Don't help me, grrr, roared Lorenzo, just to make it clear that he felt the same way. Woody and the kids weren't at all surprised the following morning when Mr. Jelly Jam asked Woody, excuse me, how would you like to try something else? The trapeze act needs some help, but be careful. Can't we be clowns, Mr. Jelly Jam, please? You don't know how to be a good clown, Woody, Mr. Jelly Jam said patiently. You help Tina, Tom, and Terry. You tighten the trapeze ropes. Eagerly, Woody grabbed the left rope and began to pull hand over hand. He struggled mightily, his eyes squeezed shut with the strain. Finally, he thought, that ought to be tight enough. And he stopped pulling. He opened his eyes and found himself face to face with Tina. Instead of tightening the rope, Woody had climbed it. Woody and Tina, who was sputtering with rage, clung to the rope helpless until Splinter and Knothead raced in with a net. Then they dropped to safety. The relieved audience cheered and Mr. Jelly Jam hurried over. Hey kids, shouted Woody, listen to that crowd. Our chance to be clowns has come at last. But Mr. Jelly Jam shook his head. I'm sorry, Woody. I know you have worked hard, but you make just too many mistakes. You can feed the trained dogs if you want to. You can't do any harm there, but that's the only job left that I can give you. They were very disappointed. But Woody, Splinter, and Knothead did like the playful pooches in the dog act. That evening, they waited at ringside with a good supply of dog biscuits. Here, puppies, have a treat. Woody tossed a handful of biscuits onto the performers. Excited, the dogs started running and jumping all around the ring. While the band was played, the dogs raced around wildly. Woody and Splinter and Knothead were knocked head over heels. Frenchie, a poodle, scrambled up a ladder. Woody jumped to his feet and raced after him, but the poodle leaped onto a small swing just as Woody reached for him. With a frightened whoop, Woody lost his balance and fell off the ladder. Meanwhile, Susie the terrier had jumped up onto the back of a pony, waiting its turn to perform. The pony broke into a gallop. Splinter and Knothead grabbed the pony's tail. Woody, tumbling from the ladder, landed on the racing pony's back, but Susie was just out of reach. Mitzi, the star poodle, pranced in front of the 3 hoops that she usually jumped through in her act. She leaped through the first hoop. Woody slid from the pony's back and tried to follow her through the tiny colored hoop. He didn't make it. Max the beagle, balancing on his rolling red barrel, crashed into Woody, pushing the woodpecker partway through the second and third hoops as well. Woody looked up from his trap of hoops and saw Mr. Jellyjam standing in front of him. "Oh, I'm sorry," he gasped. "I'm really sorry. I guess I'd better quit." "Listen," Mr. Jellyjam interrupted. "Listen to the crowd this time, Woody." "Listen," Mr. Jellyjam interrupted him. "Listen to the crowd this time, Woody." This is a nice one, right? Nice and fun. Woody listened. He heard laughter and cheering, such as he had never heard before. The audience thought the blunders had been a part of the act, and they loved it. "Woody, you were right," Mr. Jellyjam said. "I was wrong. You are a wonderful clown. Oh, how you can make people laugh." Aww. Oh, don't fall down now. You know what? I'm gonna hold you just like this, because we're almost at the end of the story. Happily, Woody bowed to his cheering fans. "Thank you, Mr. Jellyjam." He turned to Knothead and Splinter. "Don't be sad, lad. Don't be glum, chum. We're clowns in the circus now, and what a great life it's going to be making people laugh." Isn't that beautiful? After all of that, the people ended up happy with their blunders that they thought was a part of the performance. There you go, Woody. As usual, you end up as the star you started out to be all along. And boys and girls, that is the end of Woody Woodpecker at the Circus. It is Bored with Miss Reynolds, Better Off Reading Every Day. I don't own the rights to this book that I have read to you, but I love storytelling magic. And the magic of today's story is I have had this Woody Woodpecker Lovey for a while, and I recently acquired this book. And Woody Woodpecker is back on again, and my kids all over are finding a new love for him with this version, the version that they've come out with. And there was also a movie and a bunch of things. But I remember from when I was much, much younger, the Woody Woodpecker that's in this book, and the theme song and all the fun and the shenanigans that went along with it. And he is really, really a lot of fun. So if you get a chance to check him out, you should, because I know some boys and girls out there who are having the time of their life getting to know Woody Woodpecker the way that I did. Better Off Reading Every Day is here with not just the new books that have come out and the new stories and the new things that are happening. I'm here with what people call nostalgia, back in the day, the olden days, all that. Because I'm 53 years old and that stuff was good for me when I was growing up. My daughter is 22 and that stuff was good for her when she was growing up. And now you're growing up and you're finding your way and finding out the things you're like. And one day, what you are seeing now as new is also going to be old. It's also going to be throwback and ancient and all that good stuff. But it's still going to be good and still worth a watch, still worth a listen, and still worth a read. Kind of like this book from 1980. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And Woody Woodpecker and I are on our next adventure. We are like heading towards 1,700 and something books. We celebrated 1,700 this weekend. And now we're just keeping that adventure train and reading going. And we hope that you will continue to join us on Board with Miss Reynolds on YouTube and Board with Miss Reynolds on Instagram. And of course, in your classrooms, in your libraries, at the park, at home, when you're going to bed. Anytime you can find the chance to pick up a book, that makes me extremely happy and it makes you extremely smart. Bye. Mwah. See you again soon. There he is, the star of the show, Woody Woodpecker and Board with Miss Reynolds.